you like what you see here on the outside, you're gonna love what you'll see on the inside.
Why do I like Hooters? Well, I will give you 2 reasons, the boobs and the hot wings.
Have you ever imagined that a fried chicken restaurant chain could own an airline? It may sound crazy, but that's exactly what happened with Hooters Air. Hooters, a brand famous for its bright orange shirts and delicious fried chicken, had become a symbol of comfort and fun in the food industry. But in the early 2000s, they decided to expand their vision beyond the food industry and test their skills in a completely new field, the airline industry. While not the first name that comes to mind when you think of airlines, Hooters decided to take their brand to the skies with a bold idea, creating an airline. So what happened with Hooters Air? Could a fried chicken restaurant chain actually succeed in operating airplanes? Let's explore this fascinating and surprising story, as Hooters not only shook up the food industry, but also brought a unique airline experience.
41, 42 bucks, not bad. How about you, new girl? Oh, let me see.
Yeah, how much tips did you make?
31, 32, $36,000.
Jesus. What?
Is that low? I wouldn't say low.
Yeah, that's pretty good, Tina.
So, how did a restaurant chain known for crispy fried chicken decide to enter the highly competitive airline industry? The story begins in the early 2000s, when Hooters had already become a prominent name in the restaurant business in the US. With the goal of expanding its brand and bringing its relaxed, fun vibe beyond the walls of its restaurants, Hooters decided to invest in a bold idea, creating an airline that would carry the brand's signature touch. In 2003, Hooters officially launched Hooters Air, a commercial airline operating out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The initial idea was simple: offer low-cost flights while maintaining the signature Hooters style, with beautiful flight attendants, uniforms similar to those worn by restaurant staff, and a fun, relaxed atmosphere. Hooters Air's first flight took off in August 2003, primarily offering flights from Myrtle Beach to popular vacation destinations like Atlantic City, Las Vegas, and major cities like Chicago and New York. With a focus on customers looking for relaxation, Hooters Air wasn't just an airline. It was an extension of the Hooters brand that people already knew and loved. In fact, the flight attendants at Hooters Air wore uniforms similar to those worn by the waitstaff in their restaurants. However, despite the unique concept and media attention, Hooters Air couldn't maintain long-term success. Financial difficulties and intense competition in the airline industry led to numerous challenges. Hooters Air couldn't generate sustainable profits and ceased operations in 2006, just 3 years after launching. Hooters Air wasn't just a chapter in the history of aviation. It was a reminder of how big brands are, sometimes willing to venture into completely new industries, with the goal of standing out and expanding their brand. Though it lasted only 3 years, Hooters Air left a distinct mark on the airline industry, with some notable early successes. When the airline first launched, the combination of the famous brand and the low-cost airline model drew significant attention from the public and media. One of the unique aspects of Hooters Air was how they incorporated the restaurant service model into the flights. The flight attendants didn't just serve passengers with smiles. They wore uniforms similar to those worn by restaurant staff, bright orange shirts and shorts. This gave the airline a very distinct look, setting it apart from traditional carriers. Another unique aspect was the service. Hooters Air offered direct flights to famous tourist destinations like Las Vegas and Atlantic City, places where tourists looking for a relaxing, fun experience would frequent. They focused on creating a lively atmosphere on the plane, making the flying experience similar to dining at a Hooters restaurant. Passengers didn't just get snacks, they were immersed in a vibrant, bar-like atmosphere. And it didn't stop there. Hooters airplanes were often decorated with the signature Hooters logo, making each flight a unique part of the brand experience. It was the perfect combination of fun, relaxation, and of course, fried chicken. From the beginning, Hooters Air also focused on offering affordable flights, which helped them attract a loyal customer base already familiar with the Hooters brand. They created an environment where people weren't just flying, they were having a fun, memorable experience in the sky. Furthermore, Hooters Air targeted young, entertainment-seeking passengers, rather than just catering to business travelers or traditional flyers. The brand successfully made flying part of the vacation experience, bringing joy and relaxation from the moment passengers boarded the plane. However, despite taking the right steps in building its brand and attracting customers, Hooters Air still faced significant financial challenges and fierce competition in the airline industry. Nonetheless, in its brief existence, this airline made a strong impression on both customers and the media. While Hooters Air had achieved some promising early success, the dream of a commercial airline deeply tied to the Hooters brand didn't last long. The story of its collapse is filled with unexpected twists, much like a turbulent flight. From the moment it launched, Hooters Air faced major challenges. The first was financial. Despite being backed by a well-known brand, Hooters Air couldn't maintain sustainable profits. The airline primarily relied on an unstable source of income: tourists. And when the airline industry started to struggle with rising fuel prices, fierce competition from major carriers, and an economic downturn, Hooters Air couldn't keep up. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Hooters Air also faced a series of lawsuits over unfavorable contracts, along with numerous issues related to aircraft and maintenance. This led the company to be unable to maintain regular flight schedules, causing a loss of customer confidence. Additionally, the uniqueness of Hooters Air, the flight attendants in bright uniforms, while initially generating attention, became a point of criticism. Many felt the model focused too much on appearances and entertainment, rather than providing real quality service. While other airlines were evolving to offer more professional high-end services, Hooters Air struggled to keep up. Ultimately, in 2006, Hooters Air announced its shutdown. The planes adorned with the Hooters logo no longer took off. The airline could not overcome its financial barriers and failed to sustain a viable business strategy in such a competitive environment. The collapse of Hooters Air was a major shock, not just to the airline industry, but to the brand's loyal fans. While people still debated whether Hooters could succeed in aviation, the fact that they couldn't keep operating proved one thing: taking a brand from the ground to the skies is not an easy task. But the story of Hooters Air doesn't end there. Throughout its brief existence, this airline became a textbook example of large brands wanting to test new waters and chase big dreams. However, like any business, not every initiative will turn into success. Still, Hooters Air left a mark in the memories of those who experienced it, and now it stands as a story of boldness, ambition, and risky moves that don't always lead to success. So, the story of Hooters Air may have ended, but the lessons we can learn from its collapse are invaluable. Hooters, with all its boldness and passion, dared to experiment in a completely new field, stepping beyond the food industry in which they had found success. But in the business world, creativity alone is not enough. The story of Hooters Air reminds us that while experimentation and innovation are necessary for growth, there also needs to be a clear strategy and the ability to adapt to rapid changes in the business environment. The boom of the low-cost airline industry at the time created a fiercely competitive space that even strong brands like Hooters found difficult to maintain. Though it couldn't succeed in the sky, Hooters remains a great brand in the food industry. This story also teaches us an important lesson. Not every experiment will succeed, but from those failures we learn how to grow, and sometimes those failures offer the most valuable lessons. Ultimately, the story of Hooters Air serves as a reminder that business ventures need careful preparation, long-term vision, and most importantly, the ability to maintain innovation while staying true to the brand's core values. And though Hooters Air couldn't fly far, the boldness and adventurous spirit they brought to the airline industry are still part of the brand's legacy.